Yeah, nice.
And here we are, Dystopian Book Club, Slaughterhouse-Five, Part 2, and we're complaining about daylight savings time in the United States, nonsensical time changes. It's like we time traveled and lost an hour.
It's like Slaughterhouse-Five.
Right, we just time traveled. The aliens are here now.
Yep.
Time doesn't matter anyway.
It's my pig's birthday.
It is the pig's birthday.
So today's a good day for me.
She had the piggy birthday party. She had cupcakes for him.
Yeah. Sometimes you get farm animals to eat, and sometimes you get them for pets.
Right. These are pet ones. These are play with your food farm animals.
Yeah.
She was giving them cupcakes. And we got chickens hatching. We just did a YouTube short of some chickens hatching. Super
I had a chick hatch 2 days early. So
yeah. Right. We're like, that's super cute.
He's making everybody else pip.
Right.
He pipped and zipped within 15 minutes.
He was out of there. He's like, I'm done.
I know. So
get
we'll
me out
see.
Of this egg. He's all crunched in the egg. He's like, get me out of here.
I say he because the aggressive ones are usually the roosters.
Yeah, usually
so
the first ones are the boys. Yeah. They're tearing to get out of the eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I love baby chicks.
I mean, I love
she's
hatching.
addicted. She is addicted to baby chickens.
There's nothing cuter than little baby chicks like drinking.
She's addicted.
I mean,
yeah.
I actually said this year real early, which is big for me.
Right.
I was like, I think I have enough chicks.
Right. Well, you just did 60. She just did 60 baby chickens.
I have 40 that I bought, and I hatched 22, but only 17 were fertile.
How many make it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's okay because I have turkeys, and I need to.
We got to build up our turkeys.
I got to build up my turkey flock.
Right. So. We got one turkey egg in the incubator, and we're just collecting them as they're having them.
Yeah.
So we're working on the turkeys now.
I still have something to hatch.
Right.
Yeah, but I think I'm good. I collected eggs, and it was a basket full. And when I say basket full, the basket can hold probably 6 dozen.
Right.
And as I grabbed those 6 dozen for the day, I'm like,
have enough chickens.
Man, I probably have enough chickens. And I still have 60 inside as babies.
Yeah.
Maybe I should check myself early
the people
this year.
at the feed store love us.
Yeah.
Chicken math.
Right. It is chicken math. Absolutely.
Oh my
if you have 60 chickens.
I don't even think there's math involved anymore. That's how crazy it's gotten. Like I stopped counting years ago. When people ask me how many chickens I have, I'm like, I don't know, like 100.
Like 100-ish.
Yeah.
We just had 60 more. It's still 100.
Still 100.
Yeah.
That's the break point. Is 100.
I mean, I could say it's all my fault, but he did build a big coop.
We built a big coop.
Yeah.
It's a big coop.
So it does feed my.
It holds a lot of space. You can get a lot of chickens in there without it being crowded.
It's a really large shed.
Yeah.
It's like
12 by 16. And then the runs
multiple roosts.
36 by 16.
Yes, and I have.
So it's 50 by 16 is the chicken coop.
Yeah, and I have 20 nested, like laying.
Yeah, 20 nest boxes. 21.
So 21.
21 nesting boxes.
So, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying.
If you want an extra chicken in there, no one's going to know.
I'm just saying maybe start out small so then you have to keep yourself small. Because if not, the chicken math is just.
It gets you.
It gets you, people.
For meat?
No.
Not these.
No.
We've
done meat chickens
We have.
before,
Yeah, these aren't really meat chickens.
No. I have a lot of dual purpose birds, but what I do is like, here's my theory. I feed the chickens, like most of the chickens are free because I'm breeding chickens because I have 11 roosters out there now.
Right.
You know, so I get free chickens and I get chicken eggs and then I feed those chicken eggs to my pigs. Now these pigs are pets.
Right. They're never going to be pork.
No, but these pigs, honestly, these guys cost what it would be to feed my dogs in a week for like 2 months. You know, it costs
they don't need a lot.
It costs like $20 to feed these guys like every 2 months. Yeah. They don't need a lot. But normally with the feeder pigs, I would take and feed them eggs.
Yeah.
So I feed my chickens that give me eggs, that give me a ton of really good protein that I would then turn around and feed my feeder pigs. Right. And then we slaughter the feeder pigs to get pork out of them.
So we're changing eggs for pork.
Yeah. And I take the eggshells and I put it in the compost and that turns into compost, which I put in the garden. So like everything has a cycle here.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, you know.
All right. Should we do the whole book club thing?
Great. I guess we should. Done with chickens.
All
We're back
right,
on
all
Animal
right.
Farm.
Back on
Right?
Animal Farm. I know she missed Animal Farm. She should have been on Animal
No,
Farm.
because we would have never been done with it.
You would have just been talking about the piggies.
Nothing wrong with the pigs eating everything.
All right, so we're looking at Slaughterhouse-Five, written by Kurt Vonnegut. He was an American writer, humorist, known for his satirical and darkly humorous novels.
Which was not this novel.
No, I did
No.
not catch any humor in the novel.
No.
And I've got pretty dark humor, so yeah, he out dark humored me. If any of this was supposed to be funny, he got me.
I don't know if he did. That's messed
I'm
up.
known for a dry, super dry sense
Yeah,
of
you
humor,
are.
and he
Some
got
of
me
his
on this one.
characters were so kind of over the top that maybe that's where his humor was in. You know, like because especially that pretty deer at the end. He was the guy in the hospital with him. But yeah, I didn't get any humor either. No.
Oh, so the book Slaughterhouse-Five or The Children's Crusade, A Duty Dance with Death is a 1969 semi-autobiographical science fiction infused anti-war novel. So we're not going to go into too much of that. Part one was literally we talked about the writing of the book and the context of the book and the style and the themes. That's really about all we hit. And then we got chapter one out of the way because it's a meta chapter. It's the story of writing of the story without actually telling the story.
It's the reality TV chapter.
Right. It makes it metafiction because as much as the story has hints of the story of his life, chapter one was the story of him writing the book.
Yeah.
So very meta. Metafiction. So we'll roll in unless anyone. Sorry.
Oh, he comes back in at the end. He inserts himself where he says, I was there. Like he's talking about the stuff, but then he also goes, that was me. I saw that. Or Yeah,
it's some pretty dark stuff. Absolutely.
They're horrible.
All right, so let's get into chapter two since we're starting part two on chapter two. All right, the narrator bids us listen and declares that Billy Pilgrim has come unstuck in time. Billy travels randomly through the moments of his life without control over his chronological destination. Born in 1922 in Ilium, New York, Billy grows up a funny-looking weakling. He graduates high school and trains to be an optometrist before being drafted. After his military service in Germany, he suffers from a nervous collapse and is treated with shock therapy. He recovers, marries, has 2 children, and becomes a wealthy optometrist. In 1968, Billy survives a plane crash in Vermont. As he is recuperating, his wife dies in an accident.
She died in the accident on the way to the hospital because she found out about his plane crash. Which is so sad.
Yeah. After returning home, Billy goes on a radio show in New York City to talk about his abduction by aliens in 1967. His 21-year-old daughter, Barbara, discovers his proselytizing and brings him home concerned for his sanity. The following month, Billy writes a letter to his local paper about the aliens. The day the letter is published, Billy is hard at work on a second letter to the Ilium newspaper about lessons he learned when he was taken to the planet Trolloth-Mador. He is glowing with the expectation his letter will console many people by explaining the true nature of time. Barbara is distraught by his behavior. She arrives at his house with newspapers in hand, unable to get Billy to talk sense. Billy describes his entry into the Army, his training as a chaplain's assistant in South Carolina, and his day's trek behind enemy lines after the disastrous Battle of the Bulge in World War II. After the battle, Billy falls in with 3 other American soldiers, 2 of whom are scouts and capable soldiers. The one who is not, the anti-tank gunner, Roland Weary, is a cruel, insecure man who saves Billy's life repeatedly in acts he thinks will make him a hero. Billy first time shifts as he leans against a tree in the Luxembourg forest. He has fallen behind the others and has little will to continue. He swings through the extremes of his life, the violent light of death, the red light of pre-birth. He is then a small boy being thrown into the deep end of the YMCA pool by his father, a proponent of the sink or swim method, which works. So I did that one. Works great. Billy time travels.
He wonders why he had PTSD.
Right. Billy time travels to 1965. He is now 41 years old and visiting his mother in a nursing home. He blinks and finds himself in a Little League banquet for his son, Robert, in 1958. He blinks again and opens his eyes at a party in 1961, cheating on his wife. I don't remember that part. Messy drunk, he passes out and wakes up again behind enemy lines. Roland Weary is shaking him awake.
Yeah, it was the one time they said he cheated on his wife.
Okay, I didn't remember that part.
It was at some party.
It's been a little while ago. Two scouts decide to ditch Weary and Billy, much to Weary's chagrin. All of his life, people have ditched him. He has imagined himself and the scouts as the Three Musketeers, and he blames Billy for breaking them up. Billy is suddenly giving a speech in 1957 as the newly elected president of the Ilium Lions Club. He is then back in the war, being captured by Germans along with Weary. So that is chapter 2 in a nutshell.
Let's just say, like, if you can imagine, like, let's say this really happened.
Yeah.
Like, this really happened to you.
Some of it did.
I'm just saying.
All right, some of it did.
Can you imagine being this person who blinks and they think that they're in another reality?
Right. Well, like that part, I don't know if that part happened.
But that's what I'm saying. Let's imagine that really happened. Can you imagine being the person who perceives this as happening?
Yeah.
With all these breaks, I blinked and now I'm here. I'm blinked and now I'm there. Right. How can you even find a grounding?
Yeah.
There's no. I would be like, I'm done. Just kill me now. Because
you can't focus on anything. How do you have goals? Do you have direction?
How do you know what you're actually seeing is real at that point? Yeah, that would be frightening for a person to have to go through what they perceive as these jumps in reality.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought when I was reading it.
It is hard. Well, like I mentioned last week, when your past traumas are triggered, you are sometimes thrust into that past event. And it is almost like you've time traveled there, and you have to work through things to bring yourself back into the now. And it is very like disconcerting. You kind of come back into reality, and you're like, well, where have I been for like
what
the last
happened?
3 minutes? You know, and it's not as jumpy as like in here, but I can really see how the PTSD is possibly playing out in Billy's head. You know.
Right, that's frightening. A lot of anxiety,
and you're reliving the memories, and you can't sometimes you can't pull yourself out of it, and that's where you do need the therapy and stuff like that. But I did actually find a bit of humor here for you guys.
Okay, all right, bring it.
So he's talking about when he's at the speech for his son for the Vietnam War.
Yeah,
and the guy, one of the brigadiers or whatever, is going, those commies need to realize that they can't force their way of life onto people, and we'll bomb Vietnam back into the Stone Age if they don't hear our reason.
Right, which is funny. No, that is like they can't force them, but we can.
Well, we
can. Right. Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was quite funny.
Right, that is, but also true. Unfortunately, that was our ideal. That was actually our plan. We'll just bomb them until we win.
Right.
It didn't work. It didn't work then. It doesn't work now. It never seems to work. But that's generally our plan.
Right. Yeah.
It's just bomb stuff. We'll just blow stuff up until we win. Yeah.
I have a feeling also too that maybe also too it was an excuse to experiment with new toys, like new weapons and new warfare methods, and so using.
I'm a firm believer of that.
Yeah,
let's see what we can.
It's kids and toys.
Let's see how it blows up.
It's kids and toys. It's kids and their toys.
A bunch of guys or girls or whoever in the backyard, like Toy Story. Let's see what we can blow up.
Yeah, I mean that was the whole nuke. Like, I think we can make the greatest bomb ever. Let's do it.
Right.
Let's see what happens. And there was the Oppenheimer movie was great because as they're about to detonate, they're like, well, there might be a theoretical chance it could ignite the atmosphere and kill everybody. And the general's like, what? No one mentioned this igniting the atmosphere and destroying the earth. Like, that wasn't on my list here.
Right.
Like, well, it's probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen.
Matt Damon's like, what?
What? Probably not going to happen. But it's a chance. It's a chance it could ignite the atmosphere. Sorry, go ahead.
That's why I worry about what's happening now, because we're actually on the precipice with the Neuralink and the augmented reality. We're on the precipice of large-scale human trials for this technology.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So in my head, I need my tinfoil hat right now, but I just feel like that these wars are going to be like, oh, let's start experimenting on our children because we need these super soldiers. And it's just something we need to just really just have our eyes open to.
Yeah, I put nothing. Right. I put
nothing's going in the brain.
No.
Yeah.
And I think that the worst that could happen. Because I mean, I think innately all these people are bad.
Right.
They do not have our best interest at heart.
Right.
We're just expendable.
Yeah. And Lotus had a good comment, cynical take, but it probably has a little bit of truth. It wouldn't be the first time we bombed people for frivolous reasons. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if there's good reasons. I mean, I guess there are. I'm a little off there. Of course, there's good reasons, but no, I mean, I think a lot of it's frivolous.
I think they just don't like the human life doesn't mean a lot to the people who are making the giant decisions.
Bombs and stuff. Yeah.
Profit.
Yeah.
Profit.
Right. Profit. Yeah.
It's very much that. What do you say? Utilitarianism?
Utilitarianism. It is. Yeah. It's big on utilitarianism, which is to say utilitarianism is a very common ethical framework, which is the ends justify the means. Right. And since you never know when something's going to end or how it's going to end, the idea that the ends justify the means is always a fallacy, because you can just keep doing what you're doing, hoping eventually you get to the point that it ended the way you want. So you can do anything you want. Well, in the end, it's all going to make sense. So you just keep pushing that boulder up the hill till you get to that ending that you wanted. And I almost failed a graduate ethics class for that. The teacher did not like me explaining the problem with utilitarianism. Like, no, it doesn't actually work that way.
Which is a funny story.
It is a funny story
because his teacher at the time, I was in the writing my dissertation.
Right. And it was her mentor
of the PhD. And it was my mentor. And my mentor at the time, I had taken a class with her. And you usually picked your mentors, like you gave a list of 5 people that you wanted, and then the college would assign them. She approached me and said, I would like to be your mentor.
Right.
And she was a tough teacher.
She was tough.
So I'm in my first semester of writing my dissertation with this woman as my mentor, and he takes her ethics class and he almost fails it. I'm like, oh my God, this is my mentor. This woman
because I didn't agree with her take on ethics.
No, I get that.
It wasn't.
But I'm like, this woman like approached me as my mentor, and my husband is failing her class.
Almost.
It was funny.
Almost failed ethics for the right reason.
She still passed you
for the right reason.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So Lotus has a comment.
Oh, okay. They always send the poor.
They always send the poor, and I would add to that is not just the poor, but the people who try to find the best in people.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
The people who say, okay, maybe there's a good reason for this. I'm doing this for X, Y, Z, which is to help people.
For your country.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they not only take advantage of the poor, but the people who have the best intentions as help.
Yeah.
They manipulate that as well.
Yeah. And incidentally, I've been reading The Iron Heel, which is the one we were talking about. That's written in 1908 and is a fictitious socialist revolution in America. And the initial baseline is because the revolution is happening because of the corruption and the mishandling of society of the capitalists. And part of the examples they're giving, it's a slow buildup. We'll probably hit it maybe if you guys are up for it. It is a long read. It's 1908. I can't get my head around 1908 yet. They speak better than we ever will in 1908. Like their grasp of the English language and
we've dumbed down society.
And understanding is way beyond ours anymore. Yeah. But the idea is that the greed of the capitalists, the fact that they still had child labor, the fact that people would get hurt and then discarded. It's the kind of this people are expendable and discardable for the sake of profit. And
that's just the way it is.
Right. That builds into what's probably going to be the socialist revolution in America. That is the government.
That is the world.
Yeah. Right. And as Lotus said, they always send the poor. Yeah. I mean, that is actually kind of the whole idea of the book I'm looking at right now. Is they always, yeah. I mean, they're riding high on the backs of everyone. It's an interesting read. As I said, 1908 is a hard time for me to get my head around. But
I think it would be really interesting, just because I know that my grandfather and grandmother were born
Chicago in 1908.
Yeah, and you said it's Chicago 1908.
It's Chicago in 1908.
These are my people.
That's your people.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. It's totally off topic, but it's interesting. Yeah.
I found once with older language books, once you get through those first few chapters, the timbre and the temper of the language clicks in, and then I can understand.
Can get into it.
I still can't get Julius Caesar, man.
Oh, Julius Caesar.
And I don't think of myself as a dumb person, but it just the way that Julius Caesar is written.
Shakespeare or Julius Caesar? Shakespeare. Yeah, Shakespeare. Yeah.
But just specifically that one play.
Right, you can't.
I cannot get my head around. I remember in high school, I was like, what in the world are these people saying?
Right.
And I've read a lot of other Shakespeare. It's just that one thing. I just can't get it.
Well, we're going to do Utopia, which I think is 1500s, right? That's probably a Shakespearean type deal.
Yeah.
We'll do Utopia.
Yeah, I'll be sitting here like, I don't know what they say.
Yeah.
I'm just here to support everybody.
Yeah, I do agree with you about Julius Caesar there, Janet. I do agree with you because, a lot of his comedies I can go along with really easy, but a lot of his historical stuff, it is hard. Yeah,
it was rough.
Yeah. I'll say on the Iron Heel, I think I've had to look up 3 words so far. Like pause the book and be like, I got to look up this word.
Word of the day.
Word of the day. What are these? What is a metaphysician? I'm like, I have no idea. And you look it up and I'm like reading about it and trying to understand. I'm like, okay, I get it now. I didn't know that was a thing, and it's a thing today. So it was just kind of interesting.
We'd watch that movie on the writing of the dictionary.
Yeah, right. I remember that. That was cool.
I just think those people took so much time to write the dictionary, and we're so. As a society, we just don't even care anymore.
We don't. Yeah, and then Lotus had good comment. Every era has its own speech, not necessarily dumbed down, just more familiar. And I mean, but like the people in 1908 were just far more articulate than we are.
Yeah.
They understood the English language better than we do somehow in 1908. Yeah.
I agree with Lotus. Right. I like learning new words. I mean, you learn every day. You can learn something from anybody every day. You're never going to be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah. Metaphysician was one, and there were a couple others. I'm like, okay, it's obviously important to the story, and I have no idea what that word means. So, all right.
Speaking of words, I was thinking the other day on how you can say trail famidorians because you don't get it because you're not used to saying trail famidorians. It's like trail. You walk on the trail to exercise. Fam like family.
Trail fam.
Adorians.
Trail famidorians.
Yes, that's how you say it.
I'll work on that.
Yeah. I was going to write it out phonically for you on a piece of paper.
Sticky note. Trail famidorians.
Yeah.
All right. What were you saying, Jay?
I've got a word for from Slaughterhouse-Five I had to look up.
Okay.
Lugubrious or lugubrious, 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 sad, dreary, or mournful.
Okay, that is a good word.
A little melancholy there.
Right, that is a good word.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. I like it. And then Lotus said neuromancer. He trailblazed plenty of words we now use daily. Yeah, neuromancer. So, I mean, I think necromancer, which is sort of like a wizard type character. Lugubrious, sad, dreary, mournful. I didn't know that one. My mind must have glanced over it.
It's got a lot of character.
I like that.
Word.
Lugubrious. Yeah.
It does.
That'll be my next tattoo.
Lugubrious.
You'd be like, what? Yeah, lugubrious.
And
guys.
You get somebody who won an award for lettering from lugubrious.
Yeah.
It'd be like the no regrets.
We went to the tattoo convention
no regrets.
This
we got
week,
tattoos. We both got tattoos on Friday. I got the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse back here. Yeah. And then she got a pig nose.
I got a pig.
She can show the pig nose. I can't really show the 4 Horsemen.
Nice.
We got her.
My pig nose.
I had to go dystopian. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Chapter 3, here we go. Weary and Billy's captors, a small group of German regulars, take their valuables and discover an obscene photograph in Weary's pocket. So at that point, they had been captured, right?
Yes.
So chapter 2, they get captured by the Germans, and they start going through their stuff. And that's when he found the bizarre photo. I don't remember exactly what it was.
It was like a horse or something.
Yeah,
some
weird act with a horse or something. It was a weird picture. So
but it shows up multiple times.
It does show up throughout the book.
Yeah.
Because the author's a little weird.
Well, that was almost like I don't know, maybe like people went to freak shows, you know, so this was kind of like the photo of the freak show.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. All right. As Billy lies in the snow, he sees an image of Adam and Eve in the polished boots of the commander, where he must surrender his boots to a young German soldier whose wooden clogs he receives in exchange. The 2 Americans are brought to a house full of other captives. Billy falls asleep and wakes up in 1967 in the middle of administering an eye examination. We learn that he has been falling asleep at work lately. He finishes with the patient and tries unsuccessfully to interest himself in an optometry.
Can you imagine him being your optometrist?
Right, he just checks out.
Dude, I'm just trying to get some reading glasses here.
Right.
And this guy's gone.
Yeah. He's back to being a POW.
Yeah.
Billy closes his eyes and is once more a prisoner. He is roused and ordered to move. He joins a steady stream of POWs marching in the road outside. A German war photographer stages a capture scene of Billy's emerging from a bush, surrendered to armed Germans. Billy slips back into 1967. He is driving on his way to a Lions Club luncheon through Illingham's ghetto, still smoldering from recent riots, and then through a section gutted for urban renewal. The destruction he sees outside the car reminds him of the scene after the firebombing of Dresden. He drives a Cadillac with John Birch Society bumper stickers. His son Robert is a Green Beret in Vietnam. His daughter Barbara is about to get married. He is quite wealthy. And I think they explain how he got his wealth as an optometrist.
Yeah. And he had a bunch of optometrists working for him.
Right. Yeah. At the Lions Club meeting, a Marine major speaks about bombing in North Vietnam. Billy has no opinion on this subject. He has a plaque on his office wall that helps guide him through such listlessness. It reads, "God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to tell the difference," which is the AA. That's the AA motto. Okay. So clearly there was some AA influence with someone along the way. Yeah. After the luncheon, Billy returns to his stately home. He lies down for a nap and finds himself weeping. A bed vibrator called Magic Fingers purchased to help Billy fall asleep, jiggles him while he weeps. He closes his eyes and is back in Luxembourg marching. The wind makes his eyes water. Weary marches ahead of him, his feet raw and bloody from his ill-fitted clogs. The prisoners march into Germany and are taken to a railroad yard. A mentally unstable colonel who lost his whole regiment asks if Billy is one of his men. The colonel, who likes to be called Wild Bob, tells Billy, "If you're ever in Cody, Wyoming, just ask for Wild Bob." The soldiers are sorted by rank and placed in crowded boxcars. They must take turns sleeping and standing, and they pass a helmet as a chamber pot. Billy is separated from Weary. His train does not move for 2 days. When the trains begin to roll toward the interior, Billy travels to the night he is kidnapped by the Trail Famadorians.
Dude, you got it.
I nailed that one. Trail Famadorians. Yeah. So definitely a lot going on there. Yeah. We know those shoes ended Weary, and I know we got some comments. Was the question who wrote the book?
No, I think the question was the neuromancer.
Oh, neuromancer. Okay, I didn't know if it was a question who wrote this book. Okay. So yeah, a lot going. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I didn't have any notes for chapter 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. I liked Wild Bob, with his kind of boisterous and hey, if anyone, just ask for Wild Bob as he's dying. right? And he's dying as he's standing there. And I think since the story continues, I think he probably dies waiting to get on the train, you know. And then you had Weary with his wooden shoes, and I think he dies because of
remember the idea of the train was really
shoes.
Difficult for me.
Yeah,
the idea of
pretty brutal.
And what happened with them on the train, you know, it had almost a Holocaust feel to it.
Well, I mean, it was the same time and the same people.
Yeah.
Right. It was the same people in the same time.
Yeah,
history.
I mean, it just made me feel like it reminds you how horrible people are to other people.
Right. Yeah. Just stack them in the train, and what are you going to do? You're stuck in there for days, and maybe they feed you, and maybe they don't, and you know.
I mean, I've been very honest. I did not like this book. I did not care for the way he wrote.
Yeah.
I feel like he had a really good story to tell.
Yeah. He had a story to tell.
And, you know, I think I enjoyed the analysis of the book more than I enjoyed reading the book because, you know, I just didn't like the way and I know he was obviously an author that wrote a lot of books. So there's a lot of people out there that really liked the way he did it. Just didn't, you know, float with me.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It was a tough time.
Book.
It was a tough time.
Yeah.
And he did not sugarcoat it at all.
No, he didn't.
He did not sugarcoat any of it. Yeah.
Makes me feel so bad for these people and what they went through.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was just a part of me that was just like, when is this nightmare going to end for this man?
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It doesn't.
And I find he also does a good job of showing it's hard for everyone. It wasn't just, the poor Americans got caught. You know, these big baddies, like everyone was suffering.
Yeah.
You know, especially when he talks about the people just being able to eat potatoes and in the syrup factory and stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, which goes back to the wife of like, don't make a book about the glory of war.
Right.
Because
he didn't.
We tend to always glorify it.
It's easily to glorify the heroes and everything. Yeah. And he didn't try to.
Yeah.
Well, and even the wooden shoes that Weary got that ended up being his downfall, that was what one of the German soldiers had. Yeah. He went into war with a pair of wooden shoes because that's obviously all they had was a pair of wooden shoes. So definitely an anti-war novel.
Yeah, it is.
And even though I know, you know, you read the first chapter, he talked about writing an anti-war novel was a bit of his goal, but I think he was just telling his story, which was not a story of victory and heroism and everything else.
No. It was the nitty gritty. It's the reality of what happens to the human mind when you're past when you get past the point of being
breaking point.
Yeah.
I
mean, it would be great. Like my minor is in sociology or psychology. You know, that's all my undergrad stuff. So I mean, this would have been a novel that would have been great to show, you know, the human mind and how the environment can really cause a lot of problems with the human mind.
Right. And it wasn't so much that he was tortured, because I don't think at any point he was tortured in the story. He just was in a bad situation.
Right.
It wasn't like, he was tortured and they broke him. No.
He lived in a nightmare. What most people would consider a nightmare he lived in.
Right. Yeah. And then Lotus said it's anti-war because of his reality not being great as a result. Yeah. I mean, we talked about that last week, which was you watch Band of Brothers, same war, you know, and it's this story of victory as the group lands on the beach, and by the end they've conquered Hitler. Well, his story's not quite like that. You know, he didn't conquer Hitler.
Right. You watch Saving Private Ryan, you're like, I'm gonna give me a Humvee.
They saved Private Ryan. No, his story wasn't that. His story was captured and then all bad. Right. It says you don't need to be tortured to see people die. Yeah.
Or see people die.
Right.
Yeah, because the nightmare is, like I said before, you actually don't really know how you're going to react until you're in that situation. Like you sent me like a video of somebody.
I send you random videos.
I still haven't.
The self-immolation guy. Yeah. If you've seen that was on Twitter.
I'm still having nightmares about this because, like, the reality of me is like I just watched a man burn himself.
He just burned himself to death.
And in my mind, I'm like, I hope that he found his end in that, because
and it didn't look like he did.
The pain that he's going to get from
for
after
the rest
that
of his life
is going to be horrendous. But just to be
that's the world
to see that, and I wasn't even there, has hit me so much that I'm still dreaming about it. Imagine living it and being
right. It was the Air Force soldier. I don't know his rank. But self-immolated in front of the embassy.
But I think so many people are desensitized with playing video games and stuff on TV. They don't understand that someone really just lit themselves on fire.
Right. As protest for the war in Palestine. And
like Lotus said, someone just died in front of them.
Right. Yeah. Just
like you start thinking about that person was just breathing and now they're not.
Right. Yeah.
And you're not going to understand that until you're in that situation.
Right.
Like the severity of it until you're really there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say that to the kids all the time.
Yeah. And then Lotus said, repeated loud explosions is all it takes. There's a lot of study right now in military weaponry giving acute shell shock. Oh, and I'm sure. Absolutely. The loud concussion, the loud noises.
Yeah. Somebody can blow a firework and boom, it's a trigger.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was chapter 3. Should we go on to chapter 4?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Jay. All right. Let's do it. On the night of the daughter's wedding, Billy cannot sleep because he has traveled in time already. He knows he will be kidnapped by the Trail Famidorians flying saucer in an hour. Billy gets out of bed by the light of a full moon and wanders down the hallway and into his daughter's empty bedroom. The phone rings and Billy hears the voice of a drunk who has dialed the wrong number. He can almost catch the scent of mustard gas and roses on the man's breath. Downstairs, Billy picks up a half-empty bottle of champagne from a table. He watches a late-night documentary on American bombers and their gallant pilots in World War II. Slightly unstuck in time, Billy watches the movie forward and backward. Planes fly backward, magically quelling flames, drawing their fragmented bombs into steel containers and sucking them back up into their bellies. Guns on the ground suck metal fragments from the pilots, crew, and planes. Weapons are shipped back to the factories where they can be carefully disassembled and broken down into their constituent minerals. The minerals are shipped to specialists all over the world who hide them cleverly in the ground so they never hurt anybody ever. In Billy's mind, Hitler becomes a baby and all of humanity works toward creating 2 perfect people named Adam and Eve. Which is kind of deep. The idea of seeing the bombs explode in backwards is a pretty deep thought. You know, putting it all back into the ground. We don't need that stuff. Put that away. Yeah. Billy heads out to the.
Got us so it goes, because the champagne bubbles were dead, and he puts a so it goes in there for it.
Right.
Oh, was there so it goes in there? Yeah, that's great. So it goes. Champagne's flat, so it goes.
So it goes. And maybe that was his satire.
That's probably satire. I almost want to read it again. I'm like 2 books down the road now. Oh, I feel like I missed an opportunity there with some of his humor. Yeah, I think you got to read it again for that one.
Yeah.
Billy heads out to the backyard to meet the saucer that will arrive soon. A sound like a melodious owl heralds the arrival of the spacecraft, which is 100 feet in diameter.
Yeah, his spacecraft is like, "Hell, done, take me away here." He's like, you know what?
Let's do it.
I'll be in the backyard where the Trail Famidorians are going to take me away from this BS.
Give me time to abduct. I'm right here, guys. Right. Let's go. Let's do this. I'm down here.
Yeah, that's what it feels
he's like, get me out of here. Yeah,
that's his escape.
Yeah. Billy is asked if he has any questions. He says, "Why me?" A question that his captors think very typical of Earthlings to ask. They tell him there is no why, since the moment simply is, and since all of them are trapped in the moment like bugs in amber. Billy is then anesthetized. Yeah. The crush of the spacecraft's acceleration sends him hurling through time. He is back on a box traveling across Germany. The men take turns sleeping and standing. No one wants to let Billy sleep beside him because Billy yells and kicks in his sleep. He's thus sleeping standing up, which was kind of sad, right? Because I read, as you're reading through the story, he wasn't allowed to lay down. He wasn't allowed to sleep.
Yes.
They're 9 days into it.
And they showed it, like the imagery of him just like hanging there. and like trying to sleep hanging there because nobody wants him.
Right, 9 days in a boxcar, and he's not allowed to. He's not allowed to lay down to sleep.
And then his friend saw him when the boxcar opened.
Yeah.
His nemesis. I'm gonna kill him someday.
Right. Yeah. And he does. He does. No spoilers, but by the 9th day of the boxcar journey, people are dying. Roland Weary, who is in another car, dies after making sure that everyone in the car knows who is responsible for his death. Billy Pilgrim. Of course, it wasn't Billy, but he said it was Billy. He blamed Billy.
He blamed Billy.
It was the clogs the German soldiers gave him, but he blamed Billy.
Yeah, Billy from Cicero, Illinois.
Right, a car thief.
Now
from
you know
Cicero.
where Cicero is,
well, I know where Cicero is.
I'm from Chicago, so and that was that's the city right before Midway.
Right.
Airport.
No, been through Cicero many times.
I've hung in Cicero before. Yeah, it's a tough city right now.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was a tough city then.
It was a tough city then.
But it's a
probably
real
tougher
tough city
now.
Yeah.
A car thief from Cicero, Illinois, named Paul Lazaro, swears he will make Billy pay for causing Weary's death. On the 10th night, the train reaches its destination, a prison camp. The prisoners are issued coats, their clothes are deloused, and they are led to a mass shower. Among the prisoners is Edgar Derby. We've seen lice before. Yeah, so it goes with the lice. Well, the last set of pigs we had to delouse, and you can see the lice climbing on them.
They're crawling, yeah.
Yeah. So gross. Couldn't imagine all over your body. I mean, that's
I got a chicken from a breeder that was local, and it spread, and they were baby chicks.
Yeah.
So they didn't have any lice on them, but they must have had the eggs from lice because man,
we had to de-lice.
That's the only time I got lice on my chicken coop, and I have not bought from that person again.
Yeah.
Because I'm not happy.
Yeah. So gross.
So all
I can say it's gross.
So gross.
So it grosses.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, gross. Yeah.
So it's gross. Yeah.
Yeah, lice are gross.
Lice are gross. Yeah.
Luckily, they're not. It's not zooadic, so it's very specific.
Right. It's very specific.
Like chicken lice,
you can't
chicken
catch
lice,
them
pig
from
lice, or pig
chickens.
lice.
You can't check them from pigs. So.
Oh, good. Yep.
Among the prisoners is Edgar Derby, a 44-year-old teacher from Indianapolis. When the water begins,
he actually gets 3 so it goes. His
death does he?
His death is constantly brought up. He's not just Edgar Derby. He's always poor Edgar Derby, the school teacher who was shot by firing squad. That's how he's always referred to. And he actually gets 3 so it goes. 4, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that made an impact.
That's a big deal. Well, it's probably someone the author knew. I would suspect he probably knew him. Yeah.
So I was just wondering if he had any real significance, but
probably a real person.
I've been to Indianapolis, Indiana too.
Yeah, probably a real person.
Been there.
That the author knew.
Been there.
When the water begins, I'm sorry.
He was very important. Like he was kind of like a backbone for so many of them there. Yeah. When
the water begins to flow in the shower, Billy time travels to his infancy. His mother has just given him a bath. He's then a middle-aged optometrist playing golf with 3 other optometrists. He sinks a putt, bends down to pick it up, and flies back, and is back on the flying saucer. He asks where he is and how he got there. A voice reiterates that he is trapped in a blob of amber. He is where he is because the moment is structured that way, because time in general is structured that way, because it could not be otherwise.
I just kept thinking as I was reading this, like, how did this man even have a practice? I mean, it seems like he's jumping constantly.
I wonder
in his mind. So, like, how is he even functional?
Well, and that's the thing. I wonder in the story he's jumping around, but I wonder if he's really just remembering and jumping around as he remembers as much as jumping around as he's going through the moment.
I guess I was so sucked into it that I thought like this man's
he's jumping
real.
in the moment.
Like I assumed him as catatonic, sitting in his real state,
and maybe he was,
to that,
or maybe he's just as he's remembering it back, everything in time is broken up.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Could be right. Versus, I doubt because I mean, more or less true story. Any of the soldiers were jumping back and forth through time,
right?
As much as maybe they wish they were, or don't know.
No, because everything happens all at the same time.
Yeah.
According to Tramalfadorians, like it doesn't matter how long he spends in the memory because it's when he comes back, it's only been because everything's occurring at the same time.
Right, it's all happening
it's all happening at the same time. Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around that. To me, everything's very linear.
Well, it's I mean, I think one example of, say, non-linear time, which this isn't the only say story or place to propose non-linear time. If you had all of your pictures you've ever taken in your life, you put them on the table and mixed them up, right? And then you just started grabbing them at random. And rather than just having the memory, if you lived that moment and then this moment, they've all already happened, but they're all there. They're all these memories, all these moments that you're just kind of going through at random.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
it's still too much for my brain to comprehend. I can't get it. I just can't. I'm totally honest about it.
That's okay.
I'm honest about what I cannot do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. That means you're the wisest among all.
Know your limitations.
I defer to someone else in this.
Yeah.
Well, the idea of trapped in amber, I think, was the point of that, which is to say trapped in a moment in time.
Yes, and that's very visual for me to be able to see. To me,
the bug.
To me, I see a mosquito and a perfect amber paperweight is what I
stuck there forever.
Yeah.
That moment is trapped forever.
Yeah.
The voice, which is Trail Famadorian, comments that only on Earth is there talk of free will, and only on Earth is there talk of free will. And that, we'll call that chapter 4. So made it to the prison camp, got the shower. Let's see, did he get the funky clothing? I didn't have a lot in there.
No, that's when he's at the prison camp, and
he gets a jacket that's too small.
Yeah, and they did that. They told him they did that on purpose.
Yeah, he gets the small jacket and stuff like that. He's kind of a hard time. They give him a hard time with that.
I mean, he was just happy to have clothes to feel a little warm.
Right. They were making fun of him, of his too small jackets and stuff like that.
And then he stole the silver shoes.
It's the silver shoes.
The silver boots.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe that was the humor in it. All right. Any thoughts on chapter 4 before we go on?
Thoughts are this is just a really difficult book.
It's a tough book.
I mean, it's just so much that this person's gone through. It's really it's really hard.
Are we up to the firing squad yet?
No, I don't think so yet.
In the next chapter because it's a couple of pages away.
I think it's next, maybe next one. He's jumping through time. They just made it to the prison camp. They took their showers, and then he sort of zoned out. He jumped through time a little bit, met the aliens. So then we jump to chapter 5. So we can jump into that. So chapter 5, in his zoo enclosure, Billy reads the novel Valley of the Dolls, the only Earthling book available. He learns that Trail Famadorian books are composed of short telegram-like clumps of symbols separated by stars. Billy skips back to 2 childhood scenes during a family tour of the American West, then to the prison camp in Germany. After the prisoners are showered and their clothes are deloused, their names are entered in a ledger, and they're officially alive again. So, and I get the point of saying officially alive again because that ledger would be shipped, say, back to the States.
Right. And they said if you
these are
were shown dead in the ledger or
so they would announce, your family would get to know you're still alive, you're a prisoner of war.
Right.
They sort of shared that. Sorry?
Yeah. While they were on the train, they were alive, but they were also dead as well, and then
they were missing in action. Yeah, he went from missing in action to POW.
Yeah.
The Americans are housed with a group of British officers who have accidentally received extra provisions. So this was kind of interesting and almost unreal, but maybe it was true, the kind of the whole British soldier setup.
Yeah.
So the Brits welcomed the American with a cheerful banquet, but quickly became disgusted with the sorry state of the enlisted men. During a performance of Cinderella, Billy laughs uncontrollably and he is taken to camp's hospital. He is drugged and wakes up in 1948 in the mental ward of Veterans Hospital in New York. That may have been it on the extra rations, but they said there was some allocation where instead of like 100 guys, they thought it was 1,000 guys or something like that. Yes,
and they just kept doing supply drops.
Kept doing supply drops.
Based on that.
Right, based on the wrong number of prisoners.
So these guys were like
They're rich.
They were rich.
They were rich.
Rich in supplies.
They were POW rich.
They thought that these guys who were coming were more important people than they were.
Right.
So they had this huge buffet.
Right. They had all the canned goods
buffet ready.
They lined a storeroom with canned goods that were flattened out, making metal walls to keep the animals out and the rats out and stuff.
Yeah, they thought that they were going to have people who were important, and they got a bunch of prisoners.
Right, they were POW rich. Yeah, and the British soldiers were doing performances, and
and that's when Billy stole his Cinderella shoes because they had painted some boots, sprayed them silver to look like the slippers. Yeah. So he was behind the stage watching it, and he just snuck them.
Well, and the Brits,
because he didn't have shoes.
Right. Yeah, he didn't have shoes. The British soldiers felt like they had to maintain their self-respect and pride. Yeah. And an air, of sophistication, even as a POW. They felt that was important, and they did that.
Yeah.
Whereas they complain as they go, the American soldiers just whined all the time and were like broken and sad. Yeah. The Brits were like, you can't beat us.
Yeah, and they were trying to be very
sophisticated,
very proper Englishmen having high tea and stuff.
Yeah, having high tea and doing plays.
These guys just rolled off.
The U.S. soldiers were like, life sucks. We hate everybody.
Yeah, 10 days of being stuck in a... it was horrible.
They were like, this sucks. And the Brits were like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like
they were doing Monty Python reenactments. Sorry, what was it?
I was just saying the US soldiers were like the live export meat trade, like how those animals must feel. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The other guys are sitting there reenacting Monty Python episodes and stuff, having a good time.
What's up?
All right. Billy has committed himself to the mental ward in the last year of optometry school. In the aftermath of war, he finds life meaningless. In the bed next to him lies an ex-captain named Elliot Rosewater. Elliot introduces Billy to the clever but poorly written science fiction novels of a writer named Kilgore Trout. Billy's mother visits him, and he covers his head with a blanket. Back in Germany,
because
he didn't want to talk to his mom. I didn't necessarily get that.
Because he was ashamed.
Was it okay? Yeah, I didn't understand those. There was a couple interactions there.
He was ashamed of what mentally he had become.
Yeah. Back in Germany, Edgar Derby keeps watch over Billy's sickbed. Billy remembers Derby's death by firing squad, which happens in the near future. Billy travels back to the Veterans Hospital. His fiancée, Valencia Merble, is visiting. They discuss Kilgore Trout with Rosewater. Billy time travels to his geodesic dome in the zoo of Trail Famador, outfitted with Sears Roebuck's furniture and appliances. The Trail Famadorians tell Billy that there were actually 7 sexes among humans, all of which were necessary for reproduction. Since 5 of these sexes are active only in the 4th dimension, Billy cannot perceive them. When Billy praises the peacefulness of the Trail Famador, the aliens inform him that Trail Famadors are at war sometimes and at peace at others. They add that they know how the universe will end. One of their pilots will accidentally blow it up. It always happens the same way, and that is how the moment is structured. They state that war cannot be prevented on Trail Famador any more than it can on Earth.
Which, my mind went to Doctor Who at this point.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I thought Doctor of Who. The face of Job.
Right.
Which.
Timeless face of Job.
Which was timeless, which was actually Captain Jack. But that kind of, my mind immediately went to that. Right. And I saw that scene of, they know how everything's going to end.
They know how it ends, and that's how it ends. And that, we spent almost a whole hour last time talking about free will versus God's will versus determinism. It is what it is, or it's not. And the Trail Famadors were very much it is what it is kind of people.
Well, yeah, because they knew everything from beginning to end. Yeah. Yes.
Billy skips back to his wedding night with Valencia in Cape Ann, Massachusetts. After they make love, Valencia asks Billy about the war. He gets up and goes to the bathroom and finds himself back in the hospital bed in the prison camp. Billy wanders to the latrine where the American soldiers are violently sick. One of them is Kurt Vonnegut.
Which is the author.
The author, yeah.
That's the name of the author.
Right. The next morning, Paul Lazaro appears at the hospital, knocked unconscious after trying to steal from an Englishman. A German major reads aloud a monograph on the pathetic state of American soldiers by Howard Campbell Jr., an American playwright turned Nazi propagandist. And he's probably the guy we see later, I bet. Mm-hmm. Billy falls asleep and wakes up in 1968, back at work on his letter to the paper. His daughter Barbara scolds him and notices that there's a cold in the house and leaves to call the oil burner man after putting Billy to bed. Lying under his electric blanket, Billy travels to Trail Famidor just as an actress named Montana Wildhack arrives and goes into hysterics. She has been brought to Trail Famidor to be Billy's mate. Eventually, she grows to trust him, and soon they're sleeping together. Billy wakes up in 1968, having just had a wet dream about Montana Wildhack. The next day, Billy examines a boy whose father has been killed in Vietnam. He shares Trail Famidor insights with the boy, whose mother realizes that Billy is insane, and Billy's daughter is called, to take him home.
Now, that girl that supposedly went to Trail Famidor with him was supposed to be like a pretty well-known actress.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you're gonna check out, you might as well pick somebody. Pick somebody you really like.
Right. Whoever that would be nowadays. Right. Yeah. Well, and he finds a book or something about her in the dirty bookstore later on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently she was missing or something too. Like she was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can see how he constructs kind of his fantasy world.
Right. Yeah.
You know, with little bits that come up later on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
and Kilgore Trout is actually a little note to Kurt Vonnegut. He's actually inserting himself as an author in there.
Okay, I wasn't sure on that. Right. Okay, yeah, because we know. Okay, yeah, because he throws Kilgore Trout in there, and he's very kind of self-deprecating. He's like, no one's read his books, no one knows who he is. He's just a crazy guy that wrote some dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that. That makes sense. Yeah.
Because the other two books that he mentions in here are real.
Mm-hmm.
Valley of the Dolls and the Brothers Karamazov.
Yes, Valley of the Dolls, I know was real.
Yeah. But I was like, Kilgore Trout. So I looked them up. Obviously,
okay.
Kilgore Trout is Vonnegut. Yeah. So
interesting. Okay, that would make sense. Yeah.
Maniacs of the Fourth Dimension actually sounds really good. So I'm really disappointed that wasn't real.
There's probably a lot of satire in that one.
Right. There's more funny parts in that one, not so much POW
Very
stuff.
Austin Powers, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So we made it to chapter 6.
And how many chapters?
Well, we're going to do it chapter 10. So we made it halfway.
Oh, okay. Really?
We made it halfway.
Wow.
We made it halfway. Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
This seemed like a really long book.
It was a tough book.
Maybe because it was just very emotionally painful.
Right.
That it felt like a long book.
So we'll pick it up next week for the last 5 chapters.
Nice.
1984. Yeah, I know you've already started it. Are you good for 1984 next?
Yeah, I already own it, so it's good.
Okay, yeah, let's so I mean next week we'll probably finish. No rush, no guarantees, no pressure, probably finish Slaughterhouse-Five, and then we can jump into 1984. So if you want to get on the
next one, start reading 1984.
Right, we can jump into 1984.
I am halfway through, and now it's finally starting to be a very different novel.
Well, yeah, it flips. You're at the flip point. Yeah, you're at the flip point. Yeah. And then the book Zero Sum Conclusion, which is the author I was talking to about being on the show. I'm supposed to get that on Friday. So it was just released. So we'll see. It's
okay.
From what I understand, it's a sequel to Slaughterhouse to 1984.
Okay.
So cool. It'll be interesting, having just finished 1984, to sort of jump into that one, and we'll see on that. Yeah. But
nice.
I said, reading the Iron Heel now. We'll get it in. I'll read it, see how it is. We got Luna Lily's here. She's wrapping up the show.
Love. It was too long without her mama.
All right, she always needs to love that one.
It was too long without your mama, right? I know. I was doing stuff.
So maybe after 1984, before Iron Heel, or we'll maybe look in Zero Sum Conclusion. I don't know if it's on Kindle or Audible or any of that. It's just brand new release, so I'll have to read it and give it a go. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see after 1984. Let's see the sequel. How do you envision a sequel to that?
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's sort of time. As we were saying, Jay, if we need to move the time around at all, we can. If not, we'll just plan on meeting the same time next week.
Yeah.
Yep. Seems good.
Yeah, we're pretty open.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm good for the mornings. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll close out the stream here. That was Slaughterhouse-Five Part 2, and we'll roll into Part 3 next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.